You are exhausted. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the deep, bone-weary fatigue that comes from constantly trying to explain your reality to someone who is committed to misunderstanding it. You have spent months, maybe years, walking on eggshells, analyzing every word you said, and wondering why your best efforts were never enough. You felt confused, small, and increasingly unsure of your own sanity. If you are listening to this right now, it is likely because you have finally stepped away, or you are in the process of doing so. And now, something unexpected is happening. The person who once held all the power, who dictated the terms of your relationship, and who made you feel like you were lucky just to be in their presence, is struggling. They are losing control. They are facing consequences, and a part of you might feel a flicker of satisfaction, while another part feels guilty for even noticing. Let's clear the air immediately. You did not cause their downfall. You did not break them. You simply stopped holding them up. For a long time, you believed that if you just loved harder, explained clearer, or sacrificed more, things would change. You thought the problem was your inability to meet their needs. This is the first lie that manipulation plants in your mind. It convinces you that you are the variable that needs adjusting. But the truth is much simpler and much more painful to accept. The dynamic was never about love or partnership. It was about supply and control. A narcissist does not see you as a separate human being with your own needs, dreams, and boundaries. They see you as an extension of themselves, a tool to regulate their own fragile self-esteem. When you were fully engaged, when you were chasing their approval and absorbing their chaos, they felt powerful. They felt stable. But that stability was an illusion, built entirely on your exhaustion. The reason they are now paying the price is not because you plotted against them. It is because you withdrew your energy. Think of it like a machine that requires constant fuel to run. For years, you were that fuel. You provided the attention, the emotional reactions, the defense of their reputation, and the management of their feelings. When you left, or when you started setting boundaries, the machine didn't just stop. It began to malfunction. Without your constant validation, their internal sense of worth collapsed. Without someone to blame for their failures, they had to face the emptiness inside themselves. This is not revenge. This is cause and effect. You removed the support structure, and the facade crumbled under its own weight. Let's look at what actually happened during the relationship, so you can understand why this shift is occurring now. In the beginning, it likely felt intense and special. They mirrored you. They told you exactly what you wanted to hear. They made you feel seen in a way no one else had. This phase is called idealization, but it is not real intimacy. It is a hunting strategy. They studied you to learn what you valued, what you feared, and what you needed, so they could become the perfect partner for you. This created a powerful bond. You felt understood. You felt safe. But this safety was conditional. It lasted only as long as you played the role they assigned to you. Once the bond was secure, the devaluation began. This is where the confusion set in. The same person who adored you suddenly became critical, distant, or cold. You tried to figure out what you did wrong. You apologized for things that weren't your fault. You worked harder to regain that initial feeling of connection. This is the trap. By trying to fix the relationship, you gave them more control. Every time you begged for clarity, every time you cried to prove your pain, You confirmed to them that they still had power over your emotions. They learned that they could treat you poorly and you would still stay. They learned that your loyalty was stronger than your self-respect. This is not because you are weak. It is because you are loyal, compassionate, and hopeful. These are beautiful traits, but in the hands of a manipulator, they are weapons used against you. The psychological concept at play here is called intermittent reinforcement. It is the same mechanism that keeps people gambling. If you won every time, you would get bored. If you lost every time, you would quit. But if you win occasionally, unpredictably, you will keep playing forever, hoping for the next jackpot. In your relationship, the jackpot was those rare moments of kindness, apology, or affection. These crumbs kept you hooked. You stayed for the potential of who they could be, not the reality of who they were. You endured the bad days because you remembered the good ones. But those good days were not gifts. They were bait. Now that you have stepped back, the dynamic has flipped. Narcissists rely on external regulation. They cannot soothe themselves. They cannot validate themselves. They need other people to do that work for them. When you were there, you absorbed their shame, their anger, and their insecurity. You took the hits so they could feel clean. Now that you are gone, they have nowhere to put those feelings. They begin to spiral. They may try to reach out to you, not because they miss you, but because they miss the function you served. They want their supply back. They want to reset the clock and get you back in the role of the caretaker, the defender, the absorber. If you have resisted this pull, if you have maintained your silence or your boundaries, you have inadvertently forced them to face themselves. This is terrifying for them. Without a scapegoat, they must confront their own behavior. They must look at the wreckage of their relationships, their career struggles, or their social isolation. And because they lack the capacity for genuine self-reflection, they often project this pain outward. They may smear your name. They may play the victim to mutual friends. They may try to provoke a reaction from you to prove that you are still emotionally invested. This is not strength. This is desperation. It is the flailing of someone who has lost their anchor. It is important to understand that their suffering is not your responsibility. You may feel a pang of guilt when you hear they are struggling. You may wonder if you were too harsh, too cold, or too unforgiving. Please hear this clearly. You were not cruel. You were protective. You established a boundary to preserve your life. Their inability to respect that boundary is their issue, not your failure. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. You are not required to return to a situation that damaged your mental health just to ease their discomfort. As you observe this shift, you might notice a change in yourself as well. The fog is lifting. The constant anxiety that lived in your chest is beginning to fade. You are starting to remember who you were before you met them. You are rediscovering your interests, your humor, and your peace. This is the healing process. It is not linear. Some days you will feel strong and free. Other days you will feel grief for the time lost or the future you imagined. Both feelings are valid. Grief is not a sign that you made the wrong choice. It is a sign that you cared deeply. It is a sign that you are human. But amidst the grief, there is clarity. You are seeing the patterns for what they were. You realize that their anger was never about you. It was about their own internal chaos. You realize that their criticism was not about your flaws. It was about their need to feel superior. You realize that their love was not unconditional. It was transactional. You gave them your soul, and they gave you conditions. Recognizing this is not bitter. It is liberating. It frees you from the need to analyze their behavior anymore. You don't need to figure them out. You just need to stay away from them. This period of their downfall can be tempting to watch. It can feel like justice. But be careful not to get caught in the spectacle. Monitoring their social media, asking friends about them, or waiting for them to fail keeps you emotionally tethered to them. True independence is not watching them burn. It is walking away and building your own fire. It is focusing on your own growth, your own peace, and your own future. When you stop watching them, you reclaim the energy you spent on them. You invest it in yourself. You are rebuilding your sense of self. For a long time, your identity was wrapped up in managing their emotions. You defined yourself by how well you could handle their moods, how much you could tolerate, and how hard you could work to keep the peace. Now, you are learning to define yourself by your own values. You are learning that your worth is not determined by their approval. You are learning that you are enough, just as you are, without having to earn your place in the world through sacrifice. This new version of you is stronger, not because you have become hard or cynical, but because you have become wise. You know what red flags look like. You know what healthy communication feels like. You know that respect is not negotiable. You have developed a radar for imbalance. You trust your intuition again. When something feels off, you listen to it. You no longer dismiss your gut feelings to accommodate someone else's comfort. This is a profound shift. It is the difference between surviving and thriving. The narcissist underestimated you because they projected their own limitations onto you. They assumed you would always be available. They assumed you would always forgive. They assumed you valued their presence more than your own peace. They were wrong. They did not account for your resilience. They did not account for your capacity to grow. They did not account for the fact that eventually, the pain of staying would become greater than the fear of leaving. And when you left, you took with you the very thing they needed most: your attention. Now, they are paying the price of their own character. They are facing the loneliness they created. They are dealing with the reputational damage they caused. They are experiencing the instability they refused to manage. This is not karma in a mystical sense. It is the natural consequence of living without empathy, without accountability, and without integrity. Relationships are built on reciprocity. When one person takes everything and gives nothing, the structure collapses. You were the foundation, and you moved. The house fell. That is not your fault. That is physics. As you move forward, focus on building a life that reflects your true self. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your success rather than compete with it. Engage in activities that bring you joy without requiring performance. Practice self-compassion. Be patient with yourself as you heal. You have been through a war zone, even if it looked like a normal relationship from the outside. Your nervous system has been on high alert for a long time. Give it time to settle. Give yourself permission to rest. You do not need to announce your victory. You do not need to prove anything to them or to anyone else. Your peace is the proof. Your calm is the statement. When you live well, when you are happy, when you are free, that is the ultimate response. It shows that you survived. It shows that you are not defined by what was done to you. It shows that you are the author of your own story now. There may be moments when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if you were too sensitive or if you overreacted. Remind yourself of the facts. Write them down if you need to. Remember the times you felt small. Remember the times you walked on eggshells. Remember the times you apologized for existing. Those were not moments of love. They were moments of survival. You did what you had to do to get through. And now, you are doing what you have to do to live. The narcissist's downfall is not your mission. Your mission is your healing. Your mission is your happiness. Your mission is to reclaim the parts of yourself that were suppressed. You are allowed to be loud. You are allowed to have opinions. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be imperfect. You are allowed to be messy. You are allowed to be human. In their world, these things were liabilities. In your world, they are freedoms. Embrace this freedom. It is hard-won. It cost you a lot. But it is yours. No one can take it from you unless you give it back. Keep your boundaries firm. Keep your circle small and safe. Keep your focus on your own growth. The past is a lesson, not a life sentence. You have learned what you needed to learn. You have grown in ways you never expected. You are stronger, wiser, and more authentic than you were before. Let them pay their price. Let them deal with the consequences of their choices. You have already paid yours. You paid with your time, your energy, and your peace. Do not pay any more. Do not give them any more of your thoughts, your emotions, or your time. Invest those resources in yourself. Build a life that is so full, so rich, and so peaceful that there is no room for their chaos. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are shedding the skin of who you had to be to survive them and stepping into who you are meant to be. This process is quiet. It is internal. It is steady. It is not dramatic. It is real. And it is yours. Take a deep breath. Feel the ground beneath you. You are here. You are safe. You are free. The storm has passed. The air is clear. Walk forward with your head high, not in arrogance, but in dignity. You chose yourself, and that is the most powerful choice you can ever make. Keep choosing yourself, every day, in every small way. That is how you heal. That is how you win. That is how you live.